If you've wanted affordable yet rugged motoring, then Dacia has always been one of the go-to brands in the market. And the Duster is a car that established its reputation in that area. It's grown over time to be a little bit more premium, a little bit softer around the edges, but it's still retained that focus on value for money and really easy driving. Now we've got the new version with us today. You might notice it's got a couple of tweaks, but this might be the same great car that it always was. But how are we going to find that out? Well, there's only one way. We need to get inside and check out what this new Duster has to offer. Dacia has included a number of changes into this new Duster, including these redesigned headlights, but most importantly, the implementation of its new logos at both the front and the rear of the car. Overall, it's still the same chunky, square proportion Duster that we've come to know and love, but it's just been tweaked and updated in a couple of key areas. I think it still looks great in the metal though. Given that the Duster is value orientated, it'll probably come as no surprise that, well, a lot of the materials in here are a little bit less premium than you find in some of this car's rivals. We've got scratchy plastics lower down, and the vast majority of areas are covered by materials that, well, don't feel all that pleasing. But the contrast to that is that they're all very hard wearing. So if you are going to be using this Duster as a workhorse, and let's be honest, most people are going to be doing just that with a four-wheel drive like this vehicle, then that's going to help. However, that doesn't mean you're completely devoid of luxuries. We've got a nice infotainment screen in this car, and we've got some nice little switchgear and controls for the heating and ventilation. Importantly, we've also got 3 options for charging. So we've got a nice 12-volt socket and 2 USB chargers down the middle. And everything else is actually very usable and approachable, and pretty much where you expect everything to be. As I've discussed in other Dacia products, I still am not a huge fan of the fact you have the volume controls down the side as you would do on old Renaults. And in this car you do get analog dials, so there's no kind of digital dial setup, but they're clear and they're easy to read, so they do the job. I also actually find these seats quite comfortable. They're pretty limited in the amount of adjustability that you get, but they're nicely padded, and they set you up nicely in front of the steering wheel, which has that new look Dacia logo and some handy little controls for the cruise control. In general, the Duster combines those hard-wearing plastics with some neater touches, which actually make it a very approachable and user-friendly place to be. The Duster sits on the more compact end of the SUV spectrum, so it's probably understandable why there's not a huge amount of space in the back here. The seat is in my driving position and I'm just under 6 foot, and as you can see, my knees are bang up against the back of the chair, but I have got plenty of space for my feet, which is really nice. The seats themselves are quite flat and there's not much concave or kind of bolstering towards them, but they're actually nicely supportive and they've got plenty of padding in them, so they do feel quite comfortable. I like the fact that you've got 2 USB chargers in the middle, so you've got some options when it comes to charging up those devices. And there are some decent sized seat back pockets too for keeping those loose items stored away. Then when it comes to child seats, you've got ISOFIX points on the 2 outermost seats. And actually, there's not too much of a transmission tunnel in the middle, though I really do think this would be more of an occasional 3-seater in the back rather than one you'd want to use all the time, because in terms of shoulder room, it's going to be pretty compact if you want to get 3 adults in here. Open the door of the Duster, and like all of the Duster's other doors, it's very light and easy to use, and you get 411 litres of boot space back here. It's nice and square and it's easy to access, and there's not too much of a lip either. It's worth bearing in mind, however, that this 4-wheel drive version does suffer a spaciousness penalty over the 2-wheel drive version. That one gets 445 litres of boot space. It's just worth thinking about if you maybe don't need the out-and-out off-road ability of the 4-wheel drive version, but you need that bigger boot space, then go for the 2-wheel drive Duster. The Duster, like so much of Dacia's range, has always been about ease of driving. It's always been about having an approachable kind of character that means you can just get in and go. Now the one we're in today is the 4-wheel drive version. That means it's got a 1.5 litre turbo diesel engine with around about 113 brake horsepower, which is not a lot, but then the Duster doesn't weigh too much. 0 to 60 is about 10 seconds. It's not brisk by any stretch of the imagination, but it gets forward and it gets going more than quickly enough for most occasions. The car that we've got has a 6-speed manual and it's really light to use, same as the clutch pedal. All of the actions, all of the points that you interact with in the Duster are nice and easy and nice and light. the steering super light. So even when you're not going off-road, as you might be doing with your four-wheel drive Duster, it's not going to be tricky to pilot. It's going to be really easy to drive around town. The only thing I would say is that the clutch pedal doesn't give you an awful lot of space on the left-hand side to rest your foot. So when you are not changing anymore, you kind of have to bring your leg back a little bit. It's a little niggle, but it's just something that I notice when I'm driving this car. Visibility overall is good, and the boxy shape of the Duster makes it very easy to position. And actually, when it comes to parking and just manoeuvring this car, it's all very easy. Again, it all just fires back to that point that the Duster is about being easy to drive. Now, Dacia also claims you should get up to 53.3 mpg in this diesel version, which I think is pretty impressive, and that means that those long distance drives aren't going to cost too much. And when it comes to robustness, these engine and gearbox setups are pretty tried and tested, so you shouldn't have too many worries about reliability. The good thing is that the Duster, aside from the changes that have happened externally, hasn't changed all that much internally. So if you're not fancying paying just over £23,000 for a brand new diesel 4x4 version, and let's be honest, you can get them much cheaper if you opt for a petrol two-wheel drive version, you can actually get a very good deal if you look in the used market, and there are plenty of Dusters currently available on the Motors.co.uk website. I've always just really enjoyed driving a Duster because it doesn't take itself too seriously, and the whole driving experience that you get is one that is just very pleasant, it's very easy. You don't have to think about it too much, and I think that's why people really love their Dusters, because it's got a bit of character and it's got a bit of something about it, despite being one of the cheaper cars on the market today. The one thing I would say, however, is that the gearing in this car is quite short, so you have to work this gearbox quite a lot in order to get some decent forward progression, so to speak. Luckily, it is a 6-speed gearbox, so you've got almost that final cruising gear that you can use on the motorway, and that's how this car can achieve pretty decent consumption figures, is because once it's in 6th gear, it's very relaxed and the revs are really quite low, actually. The Duster remains quite a compelling package, really. It's a car that does a lot for, well, not a lot, really. I think, actually, unless you really need the fundamentals of a four-wheel drive version, the two-wheel drive version, which you can get in the high teens, is going to do loads of good and be really useful on a daily basis. But on the flip side, this four-wheel drive version is definitely going to be really capable and able to go here, there and everywhere, and far further than you might expect a car of this type to go. It's also got a decent boot and a rather practical interior, which is going to be hard wearing and is going to stand up to the test of time. Add that all together with a price that is, well, quite compelling, and you have a package that is pretty much hard to beat. And that's why I still really enjoy driving the Duster. Thank you for watching this Motors.co.uk new car review on the Dacia Duster. Now, if you have enjoyed this video, please leave us a like below and let us know in the comment section what you think of the Duster. And, well, you wouldn't want to miss a new review, would you? So please subscribe to the Motors.co.uk YouTube channel and hit that bell icon so you're notified each time we upload a new video.